that disease with him to the States. And from there, it ran rampant. Now, what you found is instead of trying to deal with this issue, and even in the 80s, it was still against the law for men to marry or women to marry. It was against the law for homosexuals to legally marry. You couldn't do it. And so during this time, you had a lot of homosexual music writers, Elton John, Queen, all these guys were standing up. They were singing songs. They were garnering public opinion to rally behind the homosexuals, to give them fair treatment. Right? Now remember, homosexuals, they don't reproduce, they recruit. And they never recruit from adults, they always recruit from kids. Now I'm going to pose a question to you how I know this is true. You see these big thing now in the society is to see transgenders, these cross-dressers reading in public libraries to children. How many of you have you ever seen reading in a nursing home? They don't read in a nursing home, do you? How many of them have you ever seen reading at an adult care facility where these cares, like, where they help people, they're rehabilitating them, and they go in there, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're not end-of-life care like a nursing home, but an adult care facility where they're rehabilitated. They go in there and try to cheer them up. How many of them have you ever seen get on the USO tour to read to troops? Where are you only seeing them? In public libraries where they're reading to children.
Hey, brother, they had a thing down in Athens yesterday, and they had a booth, and they was doing face painting on children. Free.
And who was it?
A gay pride thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
For children.
For children.
See? And the thing is that they don't reproduce, they recruit. So what you had then during the 80s, it was still against the law. Now we moved into the 90s. And as you moved into the 90s, things started to swing. In other words, they were picking up momentum. They were actually gaining political clout as a minority. They were actually recognized as a group. And by the 2000s, some states were allowing them to marry. Now, notice it started in the 60s. Notice this was a subtle, slow drive. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It was not something that changed in an instant like a snap of a finger. This was a slow, methodical move pushed by a political agenda, an immoral agenda. Because remember, in the 60s, guess what? The first thing they did, they took God out of the schools, and they took the Pledge of Allegiance out of the school. Why? Because you have to degrade the morality of a nation before you can pervert it. Lot looked towards Sodom and saw that the grass was green there. He moved there. Now, was Lot perverted when he did that? No. It happened over time. And slowly they eroded away and wore away and got their push and push and push until you get to where we are today in 2025, where you have homosexuals that are running. They're in Congress. They're everywhere, and it won't be long. We'll have one as a president. God bless America. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. Yeah? Well, you sure ain't following God. Why would God bless this country? Just a question. Listen, I love this country. My dad fought and bled for this country. I've got cousins that died in Vietnam for this country. Listen, I love that flag, and I love this country, but I am not so fooled that God's going to bless it when the majority of Americans have no moral concept. Their moral compass has become corrupt. And so when we see this in Daniel, what we're seeing is we're seeing a slow thing that happens. The Antichrist, when he comes in, is not just going to be just tearing this thing apart. We are prepping for him now. We are prepping. This is the preparation ground right now where we're standing for his coming. Now, agreed, we are raptured out. We're gone. We as that are saved. And I don't care what your church sign said. If you're saved, you're going to heaven. I don't care if you're Catholic, Methodist, Church of God, Baptist, Pentecostal, Church of Christ. I don't care. If you've accepted Christ, you're going out. Amen? You may go out kicking and screaming, but you're going. Amen. But make no mistake, right now we're in that prep ground, and everything that we refuse to do, everything that we say, well, not today, I don't want to be a witness today, I don't want to do anything for the Lord today, is just copulating to the movement. Because you know what they want you to do? They want you to do exactly nothing. They want you to sit down and say, listen, go to church, praise Jesus, sing your songs, just don't come out here on the street. See, the Sodomites were fine with Job, or Lot. They had no problem with Lot. They were happy with Lot. But just don't get in our business. Because if you get in our business, we're going to come after you. And that's what they do. So this is the same thing as the Antichrist. The Antichrist here in Daniel, where you see him, is the reason that it's so easy to do is because there's no resistance. There is no moral majority anymore. I wish there was, but there ain't. Why? Because our churches are littered with people that are in it. And I'm not saying they're not saved. I'm just saying they have become inept. They're just a negative. They're inert. They come in, they sit down on Sunday morning, they'll get up and leave, and you will not see them anymore. They're not going to take any tracts from the track rack with them. They're not going to witness. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to get behind anything. They're not going to be an active soul winner. They're not going to support missions. They're not going to do anything that causes them any grief. They just want to ride through life. And this is the majority of churches. And I don't care if it's the First Baptist in Sweetwater or the First Baptist in Madisonville or any church in between, because if you travel around and go to churches very much, you're starting to see things that are happening. And brother, I'm going to tell you, I don't want that to be that way here. If we're going to go out, I want to go out supporting missionaries. I want to go out giving out tracts. I want to go out reading my Bible. I want to go out standing on the street. I want to go out, man, when I go out, I want to go out with a bang. And I don't mean a bang, bang, bang with a pistol. I'm talking about a bang for the Lord. Amen? All right, so back over here in chapter 12. So he says, there's going to be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. So now, since there was a nation, now Daniel is dealing with the Jewish nation, right? Now, the Jews have gone through some pretty rough things. I mean, 6 million of them were gassed and burned in ovens, and chased and hunted with dogs, and they've been destitute, scattered amongst the nations, and everything else. You'd say, well, that's pretty hard. But the Bible tells you, said that ain't nothing. That's child's play as to what's going to happen. So if you want to know how bad the tribulation is, friend, just ponder on that. Take the most atrocious thing that you can think of that's happened in the history of the world. All the atrocities. And brother, there are plenty of them. And then just multiply that by 1,000. Because that's the way it's going to be. And I have never understood anybody that wanted to say to me, and I've had people say this, well, I don't want to accept Jesus Christ. I'll just take my chances. Brother, you ain't got no chance. I'm telling you, if you think you're going to reject Jesus Christ, and then if you happen to live to get into the tribulation, brother, you're just, man, you putting nails in your coffin. And so what happens is it says, the time of thy people shall be delivered, and they will. The Jew will be delivered. Well, what about the Jews? Have you noticed the steady uptick of anti-Semitism? Not just in America, but on American campuses. And these are our educational facilities. These are the places that are supposed to be the places of higher learning. But what they've become, right under our nose, you know why? Because we as parents decided, you know what, I don't really want to be involved in the PTA. I let them raise my child. I pay them to educate my kids. That's what my tax dollars go for. That's why I don't want to have anything to do with that. That's their job. That's their job. How many of you ever heard somebody say that? Say, well, that's what I pay them for. I pay them to teach my kids. I'm not going to sit here and eat up my night sitting with my child at all this homework. Why are they giving my child all this homework? I've got stuff to do, man. I pay them to teach them in class. You ever heard that?